Sometimes, the life you think you're living is just a carefully crafted illusion. It took one unexpected message during a routine business trip to unravel the secret that would turn my world topsy-turvy. You know, when you think everything in your life is on track, that's exactly when it all starts to go off the rails. My name's Abigail, and for the longest time, I thought I had the perfect life. My husband, Hayden, and I have been together for 8 years and married for 6. We've got 2 kids, Drew, who's 5, and Bella, who's 2. They're my world, and until recently, I thought they were Hayden's too. Our life wasn't a fairy tale, but it was good. We had our ups and downs like any couple, but we always found our way back to each other. Or at least, that's what I believed. Do you remember when we first moved into this house? I asked Hayden one night as we sat on the couch after the kids had gone to bed. Yeah, he replied, a soft smile playing on his lips. You were so excited about that big backyard for the kids to play in. And you, I laughed, nudging him with my elbow, you were more excited about the garage space for all your tools. He chuckled, his hand resting on my knee. Well, it was a pretty big garage. Those little moments, the ones that seem so insignificant, they're the ones you hold on to when things fall apart. I didn't know it then, but that night was one of the last times I'd feel truly at ease with Hayden. A few weeks ago, my boss asked me to go on a business trip. I was supposed to be away for a week, which was longer than usual, but Hayden assured me he had everything under control. Don't worry about a thing, Abby, he said as I packed my suitcase. I'll take care of the kids. You just focus on work, okay? I know you will, I replied, trying to smile. But if you need anything, call me. I can always— Abby, he interrupted, pulling me into a hug. We'll be fine. I promise. And with that, I kissed Drew and Bella goodbye, and I was off. The first couple of days were hectic, filled with meetings and conference calls, but every night, I'd call home to check in. How's everything going? Great, Hayden would reply, the sound of the kids' laughter echoing in the background. Drew's been practicing his soccer, and Bella's been working on her art. We're good, babe. Don't worry. I wanted to believe him, and I did, until that third day. I was in the middle of a meeting when my phone buzzed. Lydia, one of my closest friends, had sent me a text. I ignored it at first, but then it buzzed repeatedly. Finally, I excused myself and stepped out of the room to check my phone. The first message was a photo. It showed Drew and Bella playing in someone's yard, a yard I didn't recognize. But they weren't alone. A woman, someone I didn't know, was there with them. She was holding Bella in her arms while Drew ran around her, laughing. The second message came almost immediately after. Abby, I'm at my aunt's house, and I just saw your kids playing in someone's backyard. Who is this woman? I've never seen her before. My heart started to race. I quickly dialed Lydia's number, but she didn't pick up. Panic set in as I tried to call Hayden. No answer. I tried again. Still nothing. Just as I was about to call him a third time, my phone rang. It was Lydia. Abby, she said, her voice frantic. I just saw Hayden. He's at that woman's house. My stomach dropped. What? What are you talking about? They're in the backyard, she continued. He just walked up to her and— Abby. He kissed her. They're sitting together now, hugging. I'm so sorry, but I thought you should know. My world spun as Lydia's words sank in. Hayden was with another woman, kissing her, holding her, while our kids played nearby. I felt sick to my stomach, my mind racing with 1,000 thoughts, none of them making any sense. Are you sure, Lydia? I asked, my voice trembling. I wish I wasn't, Abby, she replied, her voice soft and filled with concern. But I'm looking at them right now. As soon as I hung up the phone with Lydia, I knew I had to get home. There was no way I could just sit through the rest of this business trip, pretending everything was fine while my entire life was falling apart. I didn't even bother telling Hayden I was coming back early. Let him think everything was normal for just a little longer. Let him think he was safe. I changed my flight and was on a plane within a couple of hours. My mind raced the entire time, replaying Lydia's words over and over again. Hayden had kissed another woman. He was at her house with our kids playing happy family. The betrayal stung like a physical wound, and I could feel the anger simmering beneath the surface, ready to boil over. When I landed, Lydia was waiting for me at the airport. She didn't say much. She didn't need to. The look on her face told me everything I needed to know. She handed me a slip of paper with the address of the house where she'd seen Hayden and the kids. "I did some digging," Lydia said softly, glancing around as if someone might overhear. "Her name's Tessa. I'm so sorry, Abby." Hearing that name made it all too real. "Tessa," I repeated, tasting the bitterness of it on my tongue. "Thank you, Lydia. I'll handle it from here." Lydia hugged me tightly before I got into my car and headed straight for that address. The closer I got, the more my heart pounded. I wasn't even sure what I was going to do when I got there, but I knew I couldn't let this slide. When I pulled up to the house, I parked a little down the street, out of sight. From where I sat, I could see the backyard. And there they were, Drew and Bella, playing in the grass. And Tessa, the woman who had invaded my life, was sitting on the porch, watching them with a smile on her face as if she belonged there. I clenched the steering wheel, my knuckles turning white. She had no idea I was watching her. No idea that her little fantasy was about to come crashing down. After a few minutes, she got up and went inside the house, probably to grab something. That was my moment. I took a deep breath, got out of the car, and walked toward the yard. I could feel my pulse in my throat as I got closer, but I pushed the fear aside. This was for my kids. "Mommy!" Bella squealed when she saw me, running over with her arms wide open. Drew wasn't far behind, both of them oblivious to the storm brewing around them. "Hey, sweethearts," I said, scooping them both into a hug, trying to keep my voice light. "We're going to have a little adventure, okay?" I didn't give them time to ask questions. I carried Bella and held Drew's hand, leading them quickly to the car. Just as I was buckling them in, I heard the door to the house open. I glanced up to see Tessa standing on the porch, staring at me in shock. What are you doing?" she yelled. I didn't answer. I didn't owe her anything. I got into the driver's seat and started the car. As I pulled away, I saw her running after us in the rearview mirror, her phone pressed to her ear. Good. Let her panic. Once we were far enough away, I pulled into a nearby hotel and checked us in. The kids were full of questions. "Where's Daddy? Why are we at a hotel?" But I just told them we were on a surprise trip, and they'd see Daddy soon. They seemed to buy it, though I could tell Drew was suspicious. He was too smart for his own good sometimes. A few hours passed, and I finally worked up the nerve to call Hayden. I wanted to hear the fear in his voice. I wanted to see how he would handle this. "Hey," I casually said when he picked up, forcing a calmness I didn't feel. "Abby?" His voice was shaky. "Where are you?" "I'm still on my trip," I lied, watching my kids as they settled in front of the TV. "How's everything at home?" Everything's fine," he stammered. "Just, the usual." I bit back a smile. "Good. Well, I have to go. See you soon." Before he could say anything else, I hung up. I wanted him to sweat a little longer. Half a day passed before he called me back, his voice nearly cracking with desperation. "Abby, I have to tell you something. The kids, they're gone. I don't know what happened, I swear. I left them with Tessa?" I interrupted, my tone icy. There was a long pause on the other end. You know?" "Yes, Hayden. I know everything. Don't bother explaining. I'm coming home." I hung up before he could respond and gathered the kids. They were starting to get antsy, and I figured it was time to bring this charade to an end. When we got home, Hayden was waiting on the porch, his face pale and his hands shaking. As soon as he saw the kids, he rushed over, but I stepped between him and them. "Abby, please, let me explain," he started. But I cut him off. "Hayden, I know about Tessa, and I know you've been lying to me and our kids. It's over." He stared at me, his mouth opening and closing like a fish out of water. "Over? Abby, please, we can work this out. I'll end it with her, I swear." "No, Hayden. You made your choice when you brought her into our lives. You don't get to just end it now that you've been caught. We're done. I'm filing for divorce." He looked like he'd been punched in the gut, but I didn't care. The betrayal was too deep, too raw. I'd spent years building a life with this man, and he'd thrown it all away for some fling. "You can see the kids, of course," I added, "but we're leaving. I'll talk to a lawyer, and we'll sort everything out." Tears filled his eyes, and for a brief moment, I almost felt sorry for him. Almost. But then I remembered how he had kissed her, how he had lied to me with a straight face, and that sympathy evaporated. "Abby, please!" he begged, but I was already turning away, leading the kids into the house to pack our things.